Hello everyone, it's me Daniel again. I'm back to talk about some important aspects in this video that relate to our faith. Do you feel the nudging from God to start a ministry and you are probably not sure whether you should start a ministry? Today I would like to talk about the 7 signs you are called into ministry. I would like to talk about those signs that show that you are about to go in ministry or you should be starting a ministry at some point. The first one I would like to talk about is persistent burden. You will have a persistent burden in your heart that God will put upon your heart. A burden can be in form of a vision. It can be in form of a desire to see something change, a deep desire to see something change in people's lives. And this is something that keeps on coming over and over again. It is deep within your heart for a specific kind of people, a specific location, and you want those people's spiritual needs to be met. And so I would like to maybe in a bit talk about what a burden is like, because sometimes when we speak about some of these words, sometimes it may not ring a bell so easily in your mind. So a burden is a God-given concern that doesn't seem to go away in your heart. It's a burden, a desire to act on something, a desire to pray on something, or a desire to serve a particular group of people in a particular location, or you want to see a particular change happen in people's lives in a particular direction. It sometimes maybe it is specific, it is persistent. You may have it in your heart that you want to see children being able to grow in a good environment, and so the burden in your heart is to be able to see better outcomes for children. And this keeps on persisting, and sometimes may even appear in dreams. And this keeps on coming over and over again. Maybe you are there and you have this persistent burden to see people delivered from sickness. You get this compassion when people are sick and are burdened with infirmities and afflictions, and you feel it upon your heart as a burden. And maybe that is a burden that God is putting upon your heart, not just a wish or an idea. Sometimes people think about ideas and look at them as burden. An idea is not necessarily a burden. A burden will be persistent, will be deep in you. Sometimes can even stay for years in your heart. It just doesn't seem to go away. Nehemiah felt a strong burden in the Bible. Nehemiah felt a strong burden for Jerusalem, to rebuild the wall of Jerusalem. You find that in Nehemiah chapter 1 verse 4. He had that desire to rebuild the wall. It is just that deep-seated desire that doesn't seem to go away. It's important for you to know that these are things that may require action at some stage in your life. So that's number one. Sign number one is that you will find yourself with this burden that just doesn't seem to go away. Sign number two is that you have a clear leading from the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit of God will lead you in a specific direction, and you'll find that for some reason that is a direction, a specific kind of work. Maybe it is singing, it is a specific kind of work, maybe it is preaching the gospel, it is winning souls and getting people to know Christ more. You will find yourself drawn to specific areas in your life. In the Bible, Luke was drawn to specifically right, and we know that Luke wrote a lot of things in the New Testament. We see in the Bible Paul and Barnabas were sent into ministry when the Spirit of God instructed those who are praying with them to particularly release them into ministry. So the leading of the Spirit is one of those things. You feel the Spirit of God leading you in a particular direction. Sometimes it is as a result of the area that you are in, and for some reason you just feel that you want to do something about that area, and you feel that that desire doesn't seem to go away. I encourage you to check out Acts chapter 13 verse 2. It speaks about Barnabas and Saul when they were being guided into their ministry. Sign number three is confirmation from mature believers. In this case, it may be a pastor, it may be someone who is your spiritual mentor, and they specifically will be able to speak. And this is a confirmation. I want to emphasize the word confirmation, because even you should have felt it in your heart. Because sometimes people who have not felt it before, someone comes out of nowhere and tells you you're going to be a prophet, but you haven't actually even felt it before. It is important that you yourself, you also have felt that burden within you. So confirmation from mature elders, believers, pastors within a church or even a ministry setting, they will be able to point it out to you and tell you that they have a specific leading to tell you that this is a particular area that maybe you should be serving in. And sometimes you may even be led to pray. For Timothy, it was Paul. Paul specifically asked Timothy not to neglect the gift that was in him. 1 Timothy chapter 4 verse 14. It encouraged him not to neglect the gift that was given given to him by laying on of hands. So even the elders, pastors, and the spiritual mentors that you have will specifically point out that you have been called in a particular area. Sign number 4, evidence of spiritual fruit. Evidence of spiritual fruit. So you will find that where you have been doing ministry, you see people's lives being impacted by your prayer, being impacted by the leadership that you provide, being impacted by the teaching that you provide. So that is fruit that gives you a sign that you are actually called in that direction. There are areas where you find that you have easy and quick impact whenever you do them. I encourage you to focus on those areas because it could be a sign that that is the area that you are meant to be doing ministry in. You'll find that some of those areas you don't even fight so much, you don't do a lot, but it just flows within you to be able to do things in that particular area. It is important for you to see that as a sign that that is where you are being blessed to do actual ministry. John chapter 15 verse 16 says, I chose you and appointed you that you should go and bear fruit. So where we are right now, what kind of fruit are you bearing if you're serving God? It is important that you serve God where you are in a church. It is important that you belong to a local church, and there it will give you an opportunity to actually be able to serve in those respective churches, and then you'll be able to see fruit in particular directions. It is important that you see that taking place in your life. Sign number 5 is when you have a unique message and an assignment. This happens most times in those who are pioneering ministries that are unique and are different. You find that your teaching and your spiritual assignment is slightly different, just like John the Baptist. John the Baptist's message was quite different from the other people who were either baptizing or even other prophets. And so normally that spells out the kind of ministry you find that your teachings. Now, I'm not talking about heresies, because some people come up with heresies and then call that as a unique teaching. No, I mean a teaching that may particularly be targeting a particular group of people. It might be targeting a particular location, just like the Apostle Paul's message was targeting the Gentiles. So your message, your burden may be towards a particular group of people who probably haven't been reached. Maybe people have not focused so much on them, and it's an area where nobody has given attention. So normally that would be a unique assignment, and also you most times will have a unique message. This is also a sign that tells you you are actually being called into ministry. And in this particular case, for this particular sign, you find that it is a unique ministry, which most times may require you to pioneer, to start something that nobody else has started before. And sometimes that may be a little different from actually starting or doing ministry. So it is important that you know that the uniqueness of the message sometimes may require you to go out of the usual and what everyone else is doing to start something new. You'll find that in Luke chapter 1 verse 17, that will speak more to the uniqueness of the message that the John the Baptist had. Well, number 6 of the signs is the willingness to sacrifice. So when you're being called in ministry, you will eventually find yourself sacrificing, because ministry requires personal sacrifice. If you are not yet ready to sacrifice, maybe it's not yet time for you to actually do ministry, because ministry requires sacrifice. Sometimes some things are even uncertain. Some things may not even be clear. It requires perseverance. So ministry will require you to do personal sacrifice in terms of time, in terms of resources. If you find that your heart has not reached that stage of sacrificing, then maybe it's not yet time for you actually to start ministry, because it requires you to sacrifice. Sometimes it requires you to even touch your personal resources. If you have not reached that stage, maybe you're not yet ready to actually do ministry. Paul endured persecution, hardship. Paul actually specifically said that he worked with his hands so that he could also provide for the people who would move with him. That is sacrifice. So it is important that you know that when you're going to start a ministry, it may require you to sacrifice. The last one is you will find that there'll be open doors and opportunities. I want you to watch the opportunities and the doors that open before you. Sometimes it's a sign that that's where you're supposed to be doing ministry. You find some things flow easily without doing so much. All open doors, open opportunities just step in and come to you without you actually doing a lot of work to get them. It could be a sign that actually you are meant to be in that particular place. Paul spoke of open doors that were before him. 1 Corinthians chapter 16 verse 9 say, an effective door has been opened to me. And of course, I know at the end of that verse it says there's resistance. That doesn't mean that even as we're starting ministry that there won't be resistance. There will definitely be opposition, but God opens doors for us, and once he opens doors, most likely that is where you are placed to actually do ministry. So are you looking at all these signs? It is important for you to know and check out in your heart, in your life, whether there's a persistent spiritual burden, the leading of the Spirit, confirmation from mature believers, the spiritual fruit where you are actually serving. Are you seeing it? The uniqueness of the message that you have, that the Lord is putting upon your heart, the willingness to sacrifice and open doors. If these signs are present in your life, it may be time to step out in obedience or prepare for ministry where God has called you to. Let me remind you that timing is important. I'll put a video speaking about timing, because sometimes you may be called into ministry, but then the timing is not right, or called into ministry and maybe you have gone into the wrong location. Look out for our video that will be speaking to some of those things. God bless you. Be sure to subscribe to our channel and like these videos that you are watching. God bless you. Daniel Mwahire.